We're going to shoot this outside, even though the audio is going to be a little bit sketchy with all the cars passing by and the second brood of cicadas for the year going crazy. My wife won't let me shoot this inside.
Not in my house.
I've been catching these fish for coming up on 10 years, and I have tried probably 10, 15 different ways of preparing them over the years, and I have tried for all that time to get a boneless fillet out of these fish. And I think I finally have the method down. But I'm gonna see if I can show you how to do that today. After 3 fish to practice on, I think I got this figured out. Here's how we get boneless fillet out of Asian carp. All right, step 1, we're gonna go ahead and take the fillet off. This is real simple. It's just like on any other fish, with one exception. We're gonna cut through, and here at the spine, there is a big network of bones. They all sort of splay out in different directions. I've heard it called a pine cone bone because it resembles a pine cone. And you can see here, the top of it, you see these little, this is the end of those bones. So we want to just cut around that. Once we get down to the spine, we're just going to trace it just like you would any other fish to fillet the meat off. Now when we get down below the vent, we'll go ahead and push the knife all the way through. From here, we're just going to remove the meat from the rib cage. Which is done pretty easily, because these are pretty substantial ribs, so it takes quite a bit of effort to cut through them. All right, that's a pretty good looking fillet. You've seen a lot of fish meat. Everybody talks about this Asian carp, but it really is nice meat. The challenge with it is how to clean it, and that's what I've been working on. So, what I'm gonna do is show you how to get a boneless fillet out of this. So the step 1, we're just gonna split this in half, and we are doing this before we take the skin off. So just go right down the center and split the fillet in half. Now that we have that separated, let's start with the bottom portion. Now we're gonna go ahead and take the skin off. We've got this vascularized tissue on the bottom, and the reason this meat is red is because of how much blood flow goes to this meat. It does a ton of blood flow because this is the part of the muscle that's used for long distance swimming. So we're just gonna cut off a fairly liberal amount of the meat here to get the red meat gone. Okay. The next step, this is where the trick comes in. So inside here is the Y bone. And basically from this perspective, it looks like a T. And like we're looking at the bottom of the T. Do you see these little bones here that are sticking out? This is the bottom of a T. As that bone goes in, it goes 2 directions, this way and this way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a cut right beside the base of the T on both sides. We're not gonna push very hard. We're gonna be careful we don't cut through the bones at the top of the T, which, as we're facing, is in the bottom. We're going to cut through both sides. We're going to cut both sides. Which leaves us basically a cut that looks like this right now. So from here, we're going to turn the knife at the bottom of each cut on each side. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna make a turn, and we're gonna start to release the meat from what you would call the top of the T. And we're gonna go out until we see the end of the Y bone. See right here? See where the Y bone ends? That's where you wanna cut to. You really don't wanna go beyond that. I'll show you why. We're gonna get the absolute most out of this fish that we can. We're gonna get as big a boneless fillet as we can, okay? So go to the end of the Y bone with this cut and stop. Okay? And then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. See the end of the Y bone right there? That's all we want to do. We take the cut to the end of the Y bone and leave it. Because the last step is the part that was the hardest for me to wrap my brain around. And forever I struggled with this step. Okay, and we have the meat released. And now this step, you just flip it over. Flip it over, and we cut right on the top of the bone, and we will release all that meat that's on the back of the Y bones as well. Look at that. There's a nice boneless fillet. All right, that's pretty. And nothing in there. I can feel up and down, no pin bones, and that's gonna go real nice in a beer batter. So we'll just do the same thing on the opposite side, and that's really all there is to this. It was definitely, this was the hardest fish I ever learned to clean. There's two that snuck through on me. Get rid of them guys. And then we're left with this bony piece right here that will just go into the garden compost. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. First, let's take the skin off. But I do need one thing from everybody before we move on to the next step. Please take your finger and go beep right down in the corner of the screen and subscribe to our channel. It'll help us out a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. I actually find this piece is easier. Remove our vascularized tissue. Find the center. So you're gonna go on each side, and we're gonna cut down real gently so we don't penetrate through. We wanna leave the center of the T. And we're gonna cut on both sides of the center of the T. We're gonna put our knife in until we feel those bones, and then we're gonna start to turn the knife. And I find just wiggling it and turning it at the same time is the best way to not penetrate. I really don't put any pressure on it. I just wiggle and turn, and it doesn't put pressure on the bone, so I don't cut through those Y bones. And now we're gonna release the meat till, see the end here? See the end of the Y bone? That's what we want, with the meat released all the way to the end of the Y bone. It should be called a T-bone. I don't know, Y, T, they're pretty similar letters, I guess. Okay, now we do the opposite side, same thing. And then the trick, flip it over. It should leave us a really nice piece of boneless, jumping fish. And this guy did jump in our boat yesterday. Look at that. That's gonna be beer battered, eaten with some mulled vinegar this evening.
Hey, mama. It's a good looking fish, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, that's dinner fish right there. Actually kind of looks like bacon from here.